You are listening to the Marry Your Future podcast with Christina Armstrong, where we hope you break up with your past so you can marry your future. Christina is an author, singles coach, and speaker who is passionate about helping women journey from breakup to boss up. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.
So, welcome back to another episode of Marry Your Future. Your girl done took out her braids. Colorado is super dry. You would not believe how much oil and moisturizer I put in my hair, and it's still dry. So, if you have any tips, send them my way because it's ghetto over here. Like, it's giving ghetto. So, I really need to get a good regimen. I usually won't have my hair out, but this week I do. And she's looking pretty parched, even though she has so much oil and water in it and moisturizer. You would not be able to tell. But I digress. Um, Today we are talking about when God says no. And I literally had to think about times when God has told me no, or situations that I know of when God says no. And even things in the Bible where God says no, because that I've heard people say, well, God has never said no. Well, what about in the garden when he said, don't eat the fruit? Can I eat that fruit? No, don't eat that fruit. That's a no. So, what does that look like? How do you respond? What are your feelings when God says no? Do you need to know the ins and the out of the entire thing? Or is his no enough for you to walk away from something? I'm reading this book, Atomic Habits. It's an awesome book. But the last chapter that I was reading was talking about how your environment, how you're raised, what you're around, the people you surround yourself with, how those things really are the cornerstone for your habits, for the way you live, for your lifestyle. And it was talking about giving the example of these daughters who were raised in a different country, and they were being taught that chess was life. Chess is what we practice, is what we play. Their house was filled with pictures of chess. I don't know what you call them, chess masters. They were surrounded by the things that were important to them, the things that were going to really develop their future for where their dad wanted them to go, which was to be good at chess. In order for them to do that, the dad had to say no to some things. Hey, dad, can I do this? No, you got a chess tournament. Hey, dad, can I do this? No, you got chess practice. So, our Father, God, has said no to us at some point to allow us to be on the right path, to guard and guide us in the right way. But sometimes that doesn't feel good. But when we realize that it's for a bigger purpose and a bigger plan, it's a little bit more acceptable. Also, I know for me, when God used to tell me no, I would go out of my way to do what he said not to do, because I did not have, one, a fear of the Lord, two, a reverence of how much he loves me, and I thought that he was trying to withhold something from me. And three, I was super prideful. I thought I was God. I knew best. What you mean don't eat this Pop Tart? I'm gonna eat this Pop Tart. If you know the Pop Tart story, you know the Pop Tart story. And so now that I've developed and I've grown and I've matured and I have a healthy fear of the Lord, his no doesn't sting so much. I don't feel like he's taking something from me. Rather, I go, oh, I don't know what you're saving me from, but thank you. I don't know where you redirected me to, but thank you. Okay, God, you said no. All right, thank you. And there's a couple of stories that I'm remembering as I think about when God's no could have saved me. When God's no, had I heeded to it, would have saved me. Like, real life would have saved me. And I'll give you a couple examples. Um, I I realized that again, when God used to tell me no, I used to feel like he was trying to withhold something from me. And so I would do it and then realize, oh, I probably shouldn't have done this. But it was because I did not have a healthy fear of the Lord, when really it was his protection. I remember one time um, I wanted to plan a trip, I wanted to go on a trip. And I just had this like, no, it's not the time. Don't go. And I was frustrated because everybody else around me didn't have that gut feeling. Everybody else around me they didn't have any reservations. It was just a go. Worst time of my life. It was one of those trips when you go back and you're like, I will never go on a trip with these people again. It was the worst time of my life. I wasted money. It was not restful. Relationships were never the same. I would have been spared that had I listened. With my car, I remember the Lord telling me to go to a specific car dealership, but because I was scared, because I didn't see how it was going to happen, I went somewhere else. God didn't tell me to go there. God, do you want me to go here? No, I want you to go here. Well, I went to the place that He said no to. Thank God for His mercy. I was able to get a car when I needed it, but it ended up costing me twice as much. That decision was full of sorrow. I mean, I was crying leaving the dealership because I knew I had missed God. I knew I didn't do what He said to do out of fear. And you're either going to operate in fear or in faith. Fear is going to be a sin. Faith is the only way to please God. And when you really put it like that, it makes it clear. There was so much that I could have been saved from had I just been obedient, had I had a good perspective of who God was, had I had a good perspective of His love for me. I would have saved myself a lot of money, a lot of anguish, a lot of stress, just by listening, by allowing Him to lead me as the good father that He is. I remember my mom when she first started to write her book. She had she was going to go with this publisher, and she just did not, she had no peace about it. And there's a scripture that says, let peace rule in your heart like an umpire. Like, peace makes a decision, it's final. Go with where peace is leading you. Well, my mom didn't have peace with this particular publisher. And despite, the publisher was a bulldog, so she knew how to say the right words, how to push through. She saw a good opportunity. She wanted to be a part of it. But my mom had a word: do not work with this woman. Have you ever seen Tyler Perry's Medea? Do not marry this man. He will break your heart. Yeah, that was God. What Tyler Perry said, he sat at that wedding with a t-shirt and a sign. That was God saying, do not work with this woman. But because my mom felt like she had never written a book before, she didn't know this woman was this bulldog, that it was like, okay, she got pressured into working with this woman. It was so bad. I think God even gave her a dream. God even gave my mom a dream. Do not work with this woman. But because my mom felt pressured, signed a contract, went with the woman. It was so bad that this situation stole the joy out of writing for my mom. And what started as a book that was supposed to be a trilogy went years from the first to the second one because of this one woman and this experience that it created. Because God had given my mom a no, but she didn't heed that instruction. And so that those are some of the examples that I immediately think of when God says no. How do you respond? Do you ignore Him? Do you tune Him out? Do you turn up your music or whatever it is that you do do you turn on Chicago Fire? What is it that you do to tune out God when He tells you no, because it's not something you want to hear? I've learned there are times when I would say God said when God didn't say at all. And that has been a really bad witness to some people in my family, because I'm like, God said da 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 da. No, that's not even biblical. God didn't say that. What happened was, you didn't want to hear no. You created a motive. You created an outcome and you went with that, and then you put God's name on it. That creates such a bad witness. And because of that, now when I would say God says, now they're starting to see the fruit of, okay, I see results. God did say that, versus God said when He really didn't, because I'm afraid to hear the no. I'm too immature to hear the no. I don't want to feel like God is telling me no. But there's protection in His no. There's covering in His no. And when I think about who he said no to in the Bible, I immediately go to Genesis. No, can we eat this fruit? No, you can have everything else, but you can't have this fruit. But they zeroed in on the one thing that he said he could not have when they had an entire garden. They had access to everything else. Why are we programmed that when God says no, we want that thing even more? Why are we programmed that when God says no, we feel like he's withholding something from us? Why, when we hear no, we get offended, we get hurt? When the God of the universe, the God who knows the beginning from the end, when he knows us inside out and he still chooses to love us, how dare we think that he'll withhold something from us? I noticed with my son when I would say no, I grew up in a time where no, because I said so. And my parenting style is a lot different now where I'm communicating because my children genuinely want to know, well, why? That don't make sense. And when we have a conversation, it's like, you're right, that don't make sense. Okay, you can do that. Or no, this is why I said no. I said no because this doesn't fit the plan that we have. This doesn't benefit us for the future that we're trying to get. Okay, you say you want to go to Olympics, but you over here eating 600,000 Oreos. We're going to have to say no to something. So when God tells us no, how are you responding? Are you thankful? Are you grateful? Or are you upset and offended? I I know that I'm growing in my maturity because I had a situation with someone where I wanted to withhold something from them. I wanted to go, God, and I really went to the Lord. I said, Lord, they don't deserve this. They don't do anything to deserve this. And the Lord said, and I said, can I withhold this? And the Lord said to me, no. And why? They don't do anything to deserve this. And you know what the Lord said to me? You said you forgave them. So why are you holding them hostage to a debt that they can't pay? Pay them. Take it. Give them what they don't deserve, which is love. You deserve hell. You deserve to be separated from me. You deserve to be taken captive by your sins, but I loved you. You owe this person love. So no, you cannot withhold. No, you cannot be bitter. No, you cannot be unforgiving. No, you cannot go tit for tat. No, you cannot make the long Instagram post. No, you cannot block them. And so this is what the Lord is telling me, and I'm like, oh, old me want to say, I ain't a killer, but don't push me. That's how old me want to respond. But because I've died to myself, but because I've been crucified with Christ, it's no longer I live, but Christ who lives in me. My response is different, and I handle the no differently. When God says, no, don't eat that. Pop-Tart story. When God said, no, don't eat that. I thought he was trying to withhold something from me. Then he said, no, when I send you to other nations and there's a warlock sent there to poison you, and I say, hey, don't eat that, and you eat it anyway because you think I'm trying to withhold something, now you in heaven with me before your time. Why? Because you didn't know how to hear no? Crazy. Crazy. He's too big. He knows it all. He sees it all. He goes before us. His no is your protection. It's not to withhold. And if God has never told you no, if you've never been corrected, if you've never been redirected, I would evaluate that. I would evaluate that because his word says that he corrects them that he loves. That's those people that are close to me. I have questions now. Questions like, what's the last book you read? What's the last thing God corrected you on? How does God talk to you? What is God telling you to do now? Where were you? What's the difference between you last year and you this year? How do you handle no? How do you handle rejection? How people deal with God is how they'll deal with people. Oh, you act out because God told you no? Oh, you going and you like, screw you, I'm going to do what I want to do because God told you no. You're going to do the same thing with me. My mentor would say, you want to know how somebody is or how they feel about you, tell them no. Even if you don't, even if yes is the true answer, tell them no. Watch how they respond. Watch how they respond. Especially when you're dealing with people who are used to your yes, tell them no. Hey, no, unfortunately, I'm at capacity. I don't have the capacity to do that this month. Hey, unfortunately, I don't have it in me. Hey, unfortunately, I'm not available. Hey, unfortunately, I can't do that. I'm sorry. Tell them no. Let's see how they respond. But furthermore, how do you respond? Self-evaluate. How do you respond to being told no? By God, by people in authority, by your mate, by your friends. If nobody is telling you no, you need a new circle. If everything that you bring is like, yes, that's a great idea, I love it, keep going, you need a new circle. God's no is his protection. It has saved me time and time and time again. I want you to think about a time that the Lord told you no. I want you to think about how you responded, what that looked like, and what was the outcome of that. Remember, in order to marry your future, you're going to have to break up with the past. And some of our resentment, some of our apprehension to authority, to correction goes deep. We're going to have to address that. But I promise you that there is healing on the other side of this. He is faithful. He loves you. And he's really good. He's like awesome. He's a good daddy. He's good. He takes care of his kids. Living outside of that covenant, living outside of obedience is ghetto. It's living below the standard. Let's not live there. Until next time, guys. Peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to check out the website at itschristinaarmstrong.com for more content. And remember, God can't heal who you pretend to be. It's time you break up with your past so you can marry your future.